What's up, guys? Today I'm going to go over attack side breeze, and it's going to be slightly different and hopefully better. First off, I'm going to go over the comp, and then I'm going to go over every single agent and how to play that agent on the attack side, whether it be on defaults or executes or whatever. So the comp is going to be Viper, KO, Sova, Jett, and Cypher. So Cypher as your sentinel, Jett as your duelist. You want 2 initiators in KO and Sova, and then Viper. So when you're playing Viper and you're gonna hit A, like one rule of thumb on Viper is you don't put your wall down before barriers. The reason for that is because you want to make sure that you are not being obvious with where you're hitting. If you put the wall down at the start, like say 15 seconds left before the barriers go down, what ends up happening is you kind of show that you're most likely going to end towards the A bomb site. And yes, you could sometimes use this as a fake, but you want to start off the game more often than not using the Viper wall right as the barrier goes down. So that way the opponent doesn't have a lot of time to react and, you know, rotate instantly. Now, the way you want to wall A, I'm going to show it on the map, is you just line up this box with the little bit of the right side of this, the right side pyramid. And you like kind of look up, there's no set lineup for it. You just go toward the barrier and then you just throw it right as the barrier goes down. So start of the round, as soon as barrier goes down, you Viper wall. Then you come here and you have your Sova, who's going to start around this area. Your Sova is going to dart this if he wants to. Now, if he wants to save the dart, that's okay. It's not the end of the world because your KO will be throwing a knife at this wall. This knife usually gets anyone that's trying to get an aggressive pick. And if it's usually going to be Jett, Chamber, Reyna, mainly a duelist that's going to go for a pick like this. So if you're able to turn them off with the KO knife, these players will then be very vulnerable to getting traded. So they'll more likely than not, they'll fall back and not fight it as much. And then the Sova positions himself right here and gets ready to drone. Jett just runs up these steps, and if he wants, he can go for this pick if he has an op, but it's much easier to just hold for their Jett or Reyna for their aggressive pick until the KO knife has cleared it. Then you can go for this pick if you want to. Then, as a Jett, your job is basically to just stand here and wait for the drone to get you the information you need. So Viper wall goes up, at the same time the drone starts coming out, clearing all of this, all these areas. And as the drone goes out, the best thing a Jett can do is curve a smoke that lands right here and then peek and dash into it. As the KO knifes, the KO runs up behind the Jett, behind the drone. Jett smokes, gets into it, and then the KO flash goes over the smoke and it pops around right here. That way, any player that's in front of the wall, so anyone that's playing like this, will usually get flashed out of nowhere. The flash should like land around this area. Then the Jett can run it down and clear this. Then, if the KO wants, he could offer up a second flash. And this is why I said earlier that the Sova dart is optional. The reason it's really good to keep the Sova dart is as soon as the drone has done its job, you can then Sova dart this area or this area to clear out these kinds of angles. So that way, players that are trying to like sneak a kill in before playing the retake setup won't be able to do that, and they'll probably get pinged and get spammed behind the wall. So ideally, the dart like lands around here or here, and it makes it really difficult for anyone to like dodge it. So you kind of have to break it, and it's when there's hectic things, like when there's a lot happening, it's really hard to break this dart as the A site player. So it's a really important dart to throw if you want to not use it here. Viper walls and then runs behind the rest of them. The Jett dashes in, gets flashed by KO. Now this specific spot rarely gets cleared, so the Jett's job is to run it down and then just hold this for a second. And don't just half clear it. You have to make sure you clear this area, or at least, since the dart is going to be a little late because the drone is coming out, you don't want to rely on the dart too much, at least for this spot right here. So you can either use a Viper molly for this, or you can full use a KO molly for this. I prefer a Viper molly just because at least then you're not wasting the KO molly since you only have the one. You have 2 Viper mollies, might as well use one in this area. He'll be involved, Jett clears it, kills this guy if he's there. And then if he wants, he can ask KO for a second flash through the wall, goes for a kill real quick. And this is all to create space for the bomb plant right here. The 2 best bomb plant spots, and usually it'll be your KO, who is the safest, or the Sova, who's the safest, who will be the bomb planters in this situation, or spike planters. So you either plant the spike here, or you plant the spike here if you want to be a little bit more safe, like around this right side area. You just don't want to tuck it in too deep because then your A main players can't play off of it. So you want to be able to like put it in vision of A main, and you want to like turn this way when you plant the bomb or a spike, so that way, you know, it's hard for them to defuse it without peeking A main, right? So your players can actually play A main post plant and be able to peek and kill the diffuser. Now, there's one agent I haven't mentioned at all. That agent will be Cypher. When you are a Cypher player, at the start of the round, you always want to put this trip right here, right? Like right, as soon as you get out of spawn, you want to put this trip. Then you want to run towards B. Now, there's a couple cams you can do, and I'll go over them. Cam number 1 is right here. This usually sees this player here, and you're able to tag him, and you're able to also check for any mid aggression. But this is by far the most common camera, and it's really hard to have it not break. So even if you do get this tag, it doesn't really do much for you other than just give you that extra bit of information. But it's usually going to break, so I don't really like running that cam. What I personally like to do is you always want to have some presence on this part of the map. As a Cypher player, the best thing you can do is cam this right here and then put a trip right there. Now, this does two things. One, it gives you elbow information. So if you see like a Jett or a Reyna pushing elbow, it's more likely a B aggression than an A aggression, because the way defense usually start on this map, yeah, it'll be KO and probably Jett starting towards A, and then whichever bomb site the Viper is playing. So say, for example, in this situation, Viper will be playing A. Their Viper will be playing towards A bomb site. So they have 3 people A, and then they'll have 2 people B most of the time. Sova here, or Cypher here, and then Sova here. Now, if you randomly see like a Jett walking down elbow, that means there's 3 towards B. It's pretty safe guess that there's 3 towards B. You can tell your teammates to speed up towards A. So that's the information it gives you. Like I said, the cam here, all it does is give you the information that the Sova is there, but it's pretty obvious that the Sova is going to usually start in this area, so this is not crucial information. The information you really want is this elbow info, which is why I prefer this cam, is because I'm able to see the other agent that's here. So it's usually going to be a Jett pushing, Reyna, and if there's nobody pushing, that's fine as well. You can take it back if you want, or just keep it here. It's kind of up to you. But this trip is extremely essential for you to not get pushed while you're on your cam. Your Cypher on an A round, or an A execute round, usually will cam this, trip this, and then make his way back to B, or back to A, or lurk towards elbow, or just wait here and do nothing and just wait for a push. And his job mid to late round, as his teammates are taking the A bomb site, is to just flank late and get these ratty kills towards the rotators, because most of the time the players that are here, so I mentioned Sova will most of the time rotate towards this defense side, like this yellow box area, to help his team. And then say there's a Jett here or the Cypher, if there is a Jett here or like a third player here, he will instantly try to rotate to help his team. And when that's happening, you'll be able to hear all of that entire rotation, and you'll be able to then react and kill him. And if there's a wall in front of you, like say the opponent threw a wall, you can just walk behind the wall, cage this, and then run it down this way. The other thing you can do on Cypher at the start of the round, when your teammates are hitting A, is disrupt. By that, I mean, before the barriers go down, you want to put this trip. You can put a slightly passive cam around this area here. And at the start of the round, as soon as barrier goes down, you look at this, you take one step and you cage. This cage will land right in the middle, and it'll look like you're doing a mid-A split. This will stop any rotations from coming down because they're afraid that you can be here, 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 in all these positions. They don't know how many players are here. So this Cypher's job is just to cage like this, break the dart that the opponent is throwing, turn on his cam to see if there's anyone pushing mid. That's it. He doesn't have to do anything else. If he wants to get aggressive and run up, it's fine, but it's kind of risky to do that. And if you're the only one, you don't, more often than not, you don't want to just run up and, you know, give up your life. And this, again, stops the rotation, or at least slows it down. And it also helps with, if somebody's mid-doors area and hears the cage, your opponent will call, yo, they caged mid-door, I can't see mid. They can go mid to A. That calm is really, really strong, because then this guy has to, this player that was supposed to be helping A is now distracted. He has to now look at multiple places, and more often than not, since there's a Viper wall around this area, he's not afraid of this spot. He'll have to only look here. This just helps your A guys get into the A bomb site, plant the bomb, etc. And after the bomb is planted or the spike is planted, you can do anything. You can literally walk back up mid late, or you can just go back to your team because they'll always assume that their Cypher is lurking. You could even go back to elbow if you want to risk it, crossing. And if the cam doesn't see anything, then you just cross, and then you walk back up elbow, and then you just flank the Cypher really, really late. As long as you're alive, the longer you're alive, the longer they don't have to worry about flank, which is your whole job, is to hold the flank as a Sentinel player. Now, the Viper's job is a little less tricky since you, like I said at the start of this round, you just Viper wall up. As soon as you Viper wall up, and then you come here and you Molotov this, you're not really doing much else. You can run to here and you can play this spot, but a lot of Vipers, if you want to play it really safe, is you just throw an orb wherever the spike is planted, and then you just go play post plant. And most of the time you want to have your gun out just in case the defense player is wrapped all the way around. Just in case, you just have your gun out, and then as soon as the spike is like getting lower or the opponent is retaking the site, you can go into your position like around here, and then you just molly the bomb. So Viper, Cypher in these strats, they usually play the bomb. You don't want to run in and just give your life up. You more often than not, you're there to play the post plant out and delay the defuse for as long as you can. Obviously, there are multiple ways to play post plants. You can get very aggressive through walls with KO flashes and stuff like that. But I'm not, like I said, I'm not going to get into those kinds of things in these videos because they are very basic tutorials on how to play the map. I'm not going to go over too many complicated things, even though I don't doubt a lot of you would understand it. It would just take way too long. Now we'll go towards a BXQ. Now that we know what everyone's role is, we can go over the BXQ. It'll be a lot simpler. So as I said previously, you don't, as a Viper, rule of thumb, don't put your wall down until it's the very, very last second before the execute. So this wall should go down a little bit after the barriers go down because your teammates need time. Your Sova needs time. Your KO needs time. Everyone needs time to walk up and get really close to this area because you want to pop execute most of the time. You don't want to allow this Viper, if there's a Viper playing here, or a Cypher, to be able to know the exec is coming. The more you pop into a bomb site, the higher the chances that these opponents don't get to react in time. Now, if you started running from the steps, for example, and did this Cypher can instantly say, yo, it's B, it's B, it's B, cage, get to his spot and ask for rotations, and those rotations are already halfway on their way, right? And he's ready for your hit. But if you walk up, it's a lot different. If you walk up to this area, jiggle this to make sure there's no op posted, and then walk all the way up, then it's a lot harder for the Cypher to know exactly when the hit is coming in, or if there's even going to be a B hit. He'll only really know when the Viper wall comes out. So just go to this little square thing, or this little black spot on this pavement. Get to here, and then just put your crosshair right here on the right side of this thing. Or, sorry, this white thing would be better. And just hit it. And that's it. That's your job as Viper. Is you just literally do that. You Viper wall up as your Sova is droning out, clearing all this. And most of the time, right before the Sova does this, the Sova has one very important job. You have to shock the trips if there's a Cypher playing here, which you don't know if there is or not. Most of the time, you want to shock this area right here. The best shocks, I think, are probably the most useful, are right here. That way, it gets this trip here and this trip here. So, in between the two trips, so shock that lands here. So, easy way to throw it would probably just be double bouncing it. Bouncing off this, and then hitting it there. The second shock should land around this area. So, anyone that's scaling this way doesn't have to worry about getting hit by a trip. This trip isn't as important to break, so don't worry about it too much. It's also riskier to break, so you have to kind of like peek to break it. So it's fine not to be able to break this trip. Just tell your Jett to dash straight forward or dash into this spot right here. Sova shocks again, and at this point the Cypher knows the hit's coming, and now that you only have to worry about one camera, that's okay. Then the Sova starts droning, and as the Sova drones, the Jett will smoke this if it's not already caged by the opponent's Cypher. And then the Jett can either do one of two things. He can either dash right in front, right here. And as he's dashing, it's very, very, very important that he clears right for his teammates. So that way on radar, it shows if there's a player here or anywhere in this area. And then the rest of the player's job is to just scale in behind the Jett. And the Jett's usually going to like be able to do this, listen for the trip, break it. And then he can throw another smoke here and then jump up and clear this area. Or just throw another smoke here to make sure he doesn't die to this area while he goes back around and scales to the site. If he dashes here, that's fine as well. You just continue running up this way and then just listen for any trips and kill the guy that's backside. That's it. Then Sova will dart into the site, and the KO in the meantime can either throw a flash off of this or throw a flash back haul or throw a flash straight behind this box. Anything that will disrupt this Cypher or Viper player from being able to fully have vision on everything that's going on. And it just makes it difficult for him. Most of the time, KO can also molly this area here. And if he's able to molly this area off, then the only thing the KO can, or the Viper or the Cypher on this bomb site can do is really just swing or have to push up in this lane, which will eventually get overwhelmed anyway. You want to be able to set up these executes by first figuring out which player plays this bomb site. And right now I'm saying Cypher a lot because most of the time you're going to run into a Cyphers here. With Cypher, all you really do is trip this at the start of the round. Again, same thing. You run to your teammates, and as soon as this barrier goes down, you do the same thing you normally do. You cam this, but the one thing you do is you let all your teammates go ahead of you, so they have cleared these angles, and then you can just trip this real quick. And then you can put your cam up. Or you can see that there's no one there, then you put a trip up like this. Then all you do after that, if you're a Cypher player, is just watch the mid flank and just wait. Don't do anything unless your team needs your help. And this way, you're able to big flank through mid late, potentially play off your cam. If they break your cam and your trip, you basically have the entire flank. Another thing you can do if you want to be really safe is you just play inside of here, mid to late round, like after your team has taken the A site, and you just wait. If they break your trip, your cam, whatever, you're safe from all the back angles, and you're able to just take these fights on these players as they're trying to flank your teammates. So that's the most simple way to execute B. I don't know if I've missed anything really. These are the strats you'll probably get to run the most, and the strats that'll probably give you the most utility and it'll probably bring up the most rounds for you, because you're doing something together as a 5 and you're overwhelming bomb sites using Viper Wall, basically all your utility. And this comp is best used for these kinds of strats, is like full out executes. If you want to run a default, you have to be very careful because, again, you don't have like a sky, or like you don't have that many flashes, right? KO flashes don't do that much in terms of like canceling out angles, unless it's just this angle right here. You can normally just throw a KO flash from here and it flashes and it blinds the guy that's peeking mid doors. But besides that, it's really difficult to like cancel out all the op angles because you just don't have enough smokes on this comp. This is basically the entire Breeze attack side with this comp that I would run personally. And I don't think I've missed anything, but if I have, you can just let me know. All right.